Hey, the big thoughts of me for me this week is about fear and terror and outrage or whatever you want to call it, and how that makes us, I would say, inhumane. So, thinking especially about these big tragedies that happen and where we constantly look for a person to blame. And there's an interesting allegory. I don't know which came first, the experiment with rats, where when um, rats get overcrowded and have an unhealthy environment, they become very violent with each other. And when rats are not overcrowded and have interesting environments, they're really great family animals and they take care of each other. And I'm remembering an anecdote from my foster family where um, there was a snake and the family decided that rats were too expensive to buy for the snake. Well, they had three snakes. So they decided to raise rats. And it turned against them in a way because the they got two rats and they had babies, and then the rats figured out how to get out of the cage, and the daddy rat, they'd see him taking his babies for walks around the house early every morning and then going back in. um, so the humanity of all animals is one aspect of that. The other aspect is this experiment where overcrowding rats became cruel and unpredictable even. So um, we are similar animals. We're community animals. There was a science fiction novel by Philip K. Dick, or maybe a short story, where, and this is written in the 1960s, where the one of the aspects of society was overcrowding, and therefore, once in a while, a person would run amok and just do crazy, incredibly violent things, and they called them muckers. So for me, this relates to several things, and one is we're overcrowded for our ability to manage that. And of course, the it's not just there's an idea, right, that whatever is now is a fixed thing. So we're not making an effort as a worldwide community or a national community as the um, senseless tragedies of multiple aggression are happening mainly in the United States. The other ones are organized, um, and we're not. So we're all horror struck and enraged and outraged at what happens. And the first thing we do is start taking tribal sides and pointing the finger at the other. And while the other, just want children to die, and I really don't think that's true. I think that's a gross misrepresentation of what is going on in the hearts of other humans. So that's one aspect of it is when we celebrate our outrage, we become inhumane, and we start acting towards others in a way that if they were doing it, we would call it terrorism or violence, unnecessary violence, and all this. And it isn't even true what we're saying about each other. These are gross exaggerations of our positions and our thoughts and our hearts. The other thing is then we can't talk about what's going on in our society, in our world, that's making these events more frequent. And if you look at um, the way we're not treating ourselves with respect and love, and I mean each other as well as our own selves, and there's a wait and then have vengeance idea about American justice. And I don't know about other countries, but that's ours. Is you totally leave people alone till they commit some crime, and then you get exact vengeance, and vengeance is justice. Um, and so I think that all of us are acting and celebrating rage and violence towards others in a way that is encouraging this kind of behavior on an unconscious level. And then some people fall prey to it and then do horrible things. So, and when we're in our outrage, it's my solution or you're evil. And so we have people presenting sometimes reasonable and sometimes unreasonable solutions to this horrible problem. And then if you say one word that doesn't completely agree with them, they become vile and vicious and angry and dehumanize you. And we're doing that to each other. And I really think that this actually contributes to those kind of acts of senseless violence, because here we are role modeling, dehumanizing the other, and in dehumanizing we are uh, recommending, even if we don't say it out loud, violence towards the other. So I'd really love us to think about that and feel about that, and in our hearts have some empathy and compassion and forgiveness for ourselves as a community. And love to hear people's responses to that. Alrighty.